everybody, welcome to Arrow on Target.
We are your hosts.
You can find us online at stayontargetpodcast.com and on Twitter
at JohnWright777
and ChrisWright250.
This week, we're talking about the season premiere of Arrow, Season 3. Season 3.
Yep.
So, there were some epic things that happened.
We haven't been back this year yet until now.
No.
Because it's the first
Because it's the premiere episode.
Yeah.
You know?
That was not a very dramatic statement I just made. Or surprising.
It was shocking, Chris.
Nope.
Just shocking to me.
What was shocking was the death of the Black Canary.
Oh my gosh, dude.
So we're just going to jump right into it, dude.
There's a lot of thoughts I have on this matter.
Yeah.
One of which was all over Twitter after this happened. People were like, or after the episode, rather. People kept saying things like, oh my gosh, is every episode going to be this good? Or is every episode of Arrow this season going to be like this? And I said, it better not be like this because they don't have enough characters.
Well, do they mean that in terms of
I don't know. I think that's just the pure drama.
Well, okay, so let's back up then. The quality in this episode compared to even last season.
Especially last season.
Okay, especially last season. Yeah, like for me, the quality of the show took a dip last season.
Just a little bit. Like if I look at it, you look at it objectively where you step back a little bit and you say, okay, which one do I like? I've had time to live with each one. You know, I agree.
Yeah. I don't know, like there's a lot of things I wouldn't watch in season 2 again.
Yeah.
But there were some really cool ones at the end.
Oh
and even the mid-season, like that kind of stuff that were really good. But that's beside the point. Like you can really tell this show feels like it's coming into its own. Like they know the world, the actors know their characters, the writers know what to do with them. Yeah. There's an actual story arc this time. We kind of talked about this on our regular podcast, Stay on Target podcast, but this season definitely has a starting point. It feels like very intentional. They have a starting point, they have an end point. And it's really cool to see the show mature like this. A lot of times you'll see this, in the difference between a pilot season and then like their sophomore season will feel a lot more polished. They have a lot more confidence in what they're doing.
Yeah.
This feels like that. So it kind of feels like this is their sophomore year.
Yeah.
They've kind of gotten into the swing of things and they're like, okay, this is what we're doing. I understand now.
And what's interesting about that is like we're introducing these new characters as well. We've got Roy Palmer, which is the Atom.
Yes.
And that sort of thing, which was a really cool intro. It's also Superman from Superman Returns.
Yes.
And also a character on Chuck, which is interesting. Because on Chuck, I just couldn't separate his character from the character he played on Chuck. Like, they seemed his attitude or his, like, kind of nonchalant kind of attitude is very similar to some of the situations he was in on the show Chuck.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that maybe they develop him a little bit more into his own personality.
Yeah.
And don't just, I guess, let it sit there for too long.
I will say, I'm glad that we picked up later, after the events of last season.
Yeah.
It didn't pick up right where he ended because
what has it been, 5 months? Something I think they referenced 5 months.
Yeah, something like that. And it was cool, like opening with a sequence where the Arrow team is just is out there like putting down bad guys,
doing their jobs.
Yeah, like doing their thing, and working like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, and it gives characters like Roy an in, because it's like before last season, whenever he started kind of being a member of Team Arrow, it wasn't really ever natural to me. It always felt like, well, how does he know how to do something like this? Or they kept saying, well, he doesn't know how to do this, or he's inexperienced, or whatever.
Yeah.
But this episode, it was really great, amazing to see him take the role that he was, where it was like he was taking over almost Diggle's position, where he would like go, canvass the streets, like we always said. Where is Diggle? So it's
canvassing the streets.
He's out
knocking on doors.
He's out, putting his feelers out to the criminal underworld.
Oliver would be working on something, and Diggle would be like, "I'm going to go canvass the streets. I'm going to just go out here and canvass them."
It's just, and then, it's like, that's just kind of like this blanket statement for like, I'm going to go talk to my contacts in the criminal underworld, but it's like, the way that they would put it is almost like he's just this beat cop, walking around his beat, waiting for something to happen, or waiting to hear something through the grapevine.
Yeah.
But it's like, that seems like the perfect role for Roy to play, especially now.
Canvassing the streets?
Yeah, like the criminal underworld, because like that was
No, this is the thing. This is the way they put it in this episode. He said he's going to go make a round or something like that.
That's right.
Kind of like, hey, I'm gonna go walk the perimeter.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go look at the things, make sure no one's getting through the lines.
Go on guard duty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, I just like the idea of Roy taking on a more active role in the team and actually using him, because it's like he's a great character. He's this and the way he works with Oliver and the way he works with these other characters is amazing.
Yeah.
I will say that I'm excited to see more development from Diggle. Hopefully him having a family and having a lot more going on there will maybe enhance some of that.
Yeah, so let's hang here for a second. So, like, it's cool seeing them all work together as a team, and that's what we've always wanted. We want this team aspect, okay? And I love the way that Roy is functioning within that team. He's not just the brute force. I'm just angry and I'm just going to go beat people up and I can't be controlled. That kind of stuff.
You can't control me.
Yeah. You're none my father. It's
Which
cool.
He isn't.
It's cool to see him, like, with actual, like, combat skills and using arrows and doing his thing. It's also cool to see Diggle doing his thing. Like, that was a complaint that we had all through season 2. Is like, there's not enough Diggle. Where is Diggle?
Yeah.
Get him off the canvassing.
Yeah.
And have him out there fighting. And there's always this, like,
have him out there fighting, and also, like, he played this role between, like, being completely non-existent, like, in any of the action.
Yeah, he just stood in the background.
Yeah, where he was just canvassing streets and doing, that sort of thing, where he was knocking on doors or whatever. And he played that role, but he also played the role of this mentor to Oliver, of this writing. He would take him and he try to put him on the right path, put him on the right mentality, try to get his mind better. And so I don't think we've lost any of that, because this episode, I would say, has some of the most convincing drama moments from, like, some of the ancillary characters and Oliver. Where, like, Diggle's, telling him, hey, he lays down the law there, and he says, listen, you can't protect me.
This is the thing. I hated that conversation.
You did? You didn't like it?
No, this is why. Because we've been dealing with the same issue since season 1.
I guess.
Season 1, Diggle wanted to help Oliver, and Oliver's like, no, you can't help me. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get killed, and it's going to be my fault.
Mm-hmm.
Same exact conversation. Like, it ticks me off that there has been literally no progression on this issue. No matter how many times Diggle saves his life, no matter how many times the well-oiled machine of the Arrow team works together and gets things done, it's always whenever Oliver goes out by himself and doesn't use his team and doesn't.
He gets into trouble.
He gets into trouble all the time. Okay,
yeah.
And so they lay down those rules, but then they don't progress this relationship enough. Where now Oliver trusts Diggle enough that if Diggle feels like this is too dangerous of a situation, like, I don't think that Diggle's going to put himself in a situation where he's just going to get shot by some, like, random thug on the street.
Right.
Like, he is a smart. Like he said, he's fought the Taliban. He's fought. I don't know. I forgot who else he said. I guess from season 1, Michael Merlin's guys.
Yeah.
And Slade.
And Slade's guys.
Like, why don't you trust this dude, man? Like, that's why it ticks me off, because I don't like having a stagnant relationship, a stagnant story arc for 3 years, 3 seasons of the show. So
hopefully with the whole family situation, we can see a little bit more of Diggle, and I'm hoping that his relationship with that family, like, becomes a thing. Like, we actually see into the thing, because, like, easily what could happen here is it's like, oh no, Diggle's just off with his family. Or Diggle's taking care of his family, or Diggle's, hanging out with his family in the park, or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, we don't ever see it. I want to be able to see it, and I want to see it come to play with the world of the Arrow, and where those characters are. Yeah. The bad guys, I want to see them. I want to see. I guess that relationship with his family put in jeopardy by some of the villains. I want to see that drama play out and see how Diggle handles it.
I like that, and I also liked, I liked the direction they were going with his relationship with Amanda Waller. Yeah, like he has such a rich history. They've created such a rich backstory for him within this world. Yeah, in terms of his relationship to Deadshot, his relationship to Amanda Waller, his background, with his military training, and they had a whole episode on that. Yeah, he can just, like, flat out kick butt. Yeah, like, and we relegate him to canvassing the streets, or hey, you've got to, and like. Or hey, stay here because I can't deal with it if you get hurt, because then it's on me. I mean, come on. Like,
well, that's and I like that they're keeping that consistent with Oliver, but again, I did think that was something that is potentially, like, we're retreading territory that we dealt with last season
and season 1.
And season 1, yeah, and even with Felicity's character, which I will say, like, this had the best romantic kind of interaction between them, the most convincing it's been.
Yeah.
Because like last season, it's like it almost felt shoehorned in, and it very much felt like, okay, well they're just trying to find some drama here. They're just trying to make this something, and it's not.
Yeah.
But this episode, it actually felt natural. It actually felt like something.
Yeah. So like moving on to that, and I will say the only thing I was disappointed in this episode about was the whole Diggle thing.
The Diggle thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on to Felicity, like last season, a lot of times they would try to shoehorn in this like weird kind of like relationship between Oliver and Felicity, and it was just kind of like what's there, what's not. And like what's crazy is the fans really want Felicity and Oliver to be a thing. Like that's like a huge fan outcry. Whenever he used Felicity to draw Slade out last season, and told her that he loved her and all that kind of stuff. And like everyone just was like, yes, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And whenever it turned out to be a hoax, I think people were kind of like, man, that sucks.
You wasted this opportunity. And honestly, they didn't waste it though, because he said, she said, I was really convincing, and he was like, well, I didn't say it was a lie,
right.
And so you have this something that's there, but it was earlier than that. Like, even, like, I thought that actually worked pretty well with the finale, but it was earlier than that they started kind of introducing that idea of Felicity and Oliver as a relationship thing, and that's whenever it felt awkward. That's whenever it felt natural or unnatural. But now, it seems like with this 5 months that's developed between, it was just very convincing to come back and look at their lives 5 months after what we last saw, and it's like they're just now going on their first date, and it's like this feels like it could be something.
Yeah.
Which it's very strange because referencing the Flash promo, there was like this basically scenes from the upcoming season after the premiere. And Felicity ends up like kissing him, or they're really close, and it's like, man, Felicity's getting, it's like lots of action on both fronts, I guess. So
yeah, I mean, I really feel like this is the only time that we're gonna see Felicity and Oliver. Like this is almost...
You think this was a resolution to what we introduced?
Yes, I think this was okay. Well, the fans got all mad at us because we faked him out. Okay, now let's give them some actual interaction. Send them on a date. It's not going to work out.
Yeah. And
then they move on from that. Because you couldn't really leave what they said. Like, you couldn't leave that unsaid. Like, you couldn't not deal with it.
Yeah.
Because if you did, then it's just kind of like, I don't understand what happened there necessarily.
For sure. And you've also got Oliver, who basically implodes in every relationship that he's in. Yeah. He basically ruins and sabotages every single relationship, whether it's with his mother, his sister, his Diggle, everybody. He eventually just destroys them all. Yeah. And so like it's very convincing, very obvious that that's what's happening. Yeah. And whenever they have that whole discussion where she says, then say it's never going to happen. Don't say maybe it's going to happen.
Right.
That was a moment where it's just like, man, Oliver, you just screwed this up.
Well, and like that was also another, we talk about a lot about how I think the writers use Felicity to say things that the audience is saying.
Yeah.
And to be a stand-in for the audience. And like I think that's what the audience was saying. Like,
yeah.
Either make this a thing or don't make this a thing. Don't drag us along being like, what is this? And I think they've definitively said, hey, this is not a thing anymore.
Yeah, this can't be a thing anymore.
Yeah, so, and I'm cool with it.
Yeah,
like,
fun.
I was never what do they call it?
A proponent of them?
Well, no, like, they have like a couple name where they smish their names together or whatever.
Oh, I don't know. Did they?
I thought they did.
Folliver? I don't know.
Who knows? Anyway, like that's
Olicity?
It's just yes, that's what it was. Olicity.
Ah, there you go.
There's not gonna be an Olicity anymore. So, and I'm okay with that. Like that's not something that I was vying for. Yeah. I think it's a lot of fans liked that, and but. I still love Felicity and I love Oliver.
You have this character of Felicity who's this amazingly well-developed character who just constantly surprises you and constantly has these turns and these little small things, these development from point A to point B. I would say if there's one character that is not the same today as she was whenever she was introduced, or he was as he was it's Felicity. Mm-hmm. Like more so than even Oliver. Mm-hmm. Where she's just developed more and she's become this awesome character.
I think the reason that the relationship didn't really feel genuine or real before was because they didn't give us a reason for why they should be together, like they did in this episode. Whenever Oliver was telling her, you're the first person that I saw as a person and not either a threat or an obstacle.
Yeah.
if they had done that last season, like you'd be like, yeah, of course they should be together. Like this obviously makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think they just saw like, they needed to have a reason for why, there were those feelings that they introduced last season.
Yeah.
And if that's indicative of the way they're going to move forward this season, that's very promising, and that they're going to actually give you reasons for why things are happening rather than just make them happen.
Yeah.
I really like that. So we talked a little bit about Black Adam.
Or no, not Black Adam. It would be Ray Palmer, the Atom.
The Atom.
Yes.
Okay, so we talked a bit about that.
How did you feel about his introduction and the way he enters this world?
I really like it. I just and it doesn't need to be answered, and it's not any kind of like bad thing. But I don't know how he stays relevant to what Oliver is doing. I mean, sure, he now owns and runs his company, but it's not his company anymore. I mean, if someone comes and takes my refrigerator, it is not my refrigerator anymore. I don't care really what happens to it.
Right.
Like he took Oliver's company, and Oliver has just said, I don't care about this. I can't run it anyway.
Well, and the whole episode, we were dealing with our greatest fear, and his greatest fear was Oliver Queen.
Right.
It was the Arrow versus Oliver Queen, where you have him professionally at Queen Consolidated fighting with the Arrow. And he obviously definitively said, I am the Arrow. I am not the Oliver Queen, CEO of Queen Consolidated. I'm, and so maybe that this season we're going to be focusing more on the Arrow, which is a good thing.
Oh, and that's what I mean. Like if he is now, we saw what happened whenever he tried to run it
and be the Arrow at the same time. Yeah,
and I have no doubt in my mind that would happen again.
Yeah, and it opened the door for both his Arrow persona to get threatened by Slade, and his company to get taken over by what's her name? I can't remember her name. Rochef, Isabel Rochef.
Yeah. The only promising thing that I was kind of like, okay, well, that'd be cool if he does, because now Moira's out of the picture. Yeah. And it always felt like Moira was kind of manipulating things, and it wasn't all Oliver.
That's right. That's right.
And so with her out of the picture, I'm like, okay, maybe he could become more of a Bruce Wayne type character, where he has leaders he trusts running this business while he goes out and does his nightly duties.
Yeah.
But I just struggle to see how Ray Palmer remains relevant to Oliver if he has completely removed himself from Queen Consolidated. He has no vested interest in how it does.
This is true.
I mean, other than his, I guess, weird relationship with Felicity that he's trying. Do they become a love interest, you think?
I don't know. I mean, it's intriguing, and I think that's what they're maybe hinting at, like with him flirting with her, and like, cause obviously he was,
right?
And obviously he was vying for her as he wanted her to work for him, because he wants her hacking skills, he wants her computer skills. I don't know. It's like,
does he become a threat? Do you think? We already saw Isabel Rochef turn into an evil villain. Mm-hmm. Is Ray Palmer going to be foe? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think that if anything, he's going to become an ally. But it might be one of those kind of reluctant allies. I did love there was an Easter egg in there where he how he took off his belt, like he took off the thing off of his belt and put it on the table. The Atom determines what size he is based on his belt. Like he has a thing on his belt. So it was nice to see him being like, oh, my belt isn't just an accessory or something to hold up my pants. It's a tool. Yeah. I mean, that was kind of a cool Easter egg. But I don't know, maybe he's an ally, maybe not. But I'm right there with you where if it doesn't matter, is the only way we're going to see Ray Palmer through kind of the Felicity connection. Maybe for a while. It was also intriguing to me that we have the Canary coming back into town, and we have an unknown Archer, and now we have Ray Palmer, who's this new. We have a lot of new people being inserted in, so maybe he is connected somehow to some of the more nefarious things that are going on in the city, because they all kind of start happening at the same time.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Let's talk about the Lances for a second. So we have already referenced Sarah got shot. So
yep.
We'll back up from that. It's cool to see Detective Lance become Captain Lance now.
Yeah.
So he's not the head person in the police department.
No.
He's right under them.
Yeah, but he's in charge of probably
he's not commissioner,
an area.
I guess.
Right, he's not the commissioner, but he's in charge of maybe an area of town. He's got people under him. He's got sergeants. That sort of thing. So
we saw him in combat for some reason a couple times this episode, which was cool, but it's kind of if you're the captain, why are your men not doing this?
Well, he seems to be this, and that's why we were dealing with it. I think this episode where he had kind of the heart attack, that incident. I think that because traditionally throughout the first 2 seasons of the show, we've seen him in that action role. Maybe they wanted to put him in that action role just one more time and explain why for the rest of the season he's not going to be in that action role.
I can see that. I'm cool with that too. I'm cool with him morphing into a more actually more leadership kind of role.
Yeah.
Not only within the town but within the show. You know. And he already kind of did that this episode whenever he basically dissolved the vigilante task force and all that kind of stuff. Like, hey, we're not gonna prosecute or chase Arrow.
We'll see how that holds up whenever there's a murder with arrows in
Arrow.
them.
Well, especially if it's a murder of his daughter.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh man, like there's a lot going on in that universe with the implications of who killed.
Yeah. So who do you think it was? It was obviously someone she knew because she said, "What are you doing here?" We have several different people who can shoot arrows. We have Oliver. We have Roy. We have Malcolm Merlyn. And probably Thea now.
I was about to suggest that.
Yeah.
That would be really twisted. And we didn't see her at all this episode. That was the one surprising thing to me in this episode is that we didn't see her. Oliver references family whenever he's talking about his company and saying, family is very important to me. If family is very important to you, where is Thea in this?
Yeah, like
she's directly related to him.
I don't remember where we left it, but
Didn't she walk off with Malcolm?
Right, she did, but I don't know what Oliver thought she did.
That's true.
Was she was leaving town though?
Yeah.
So maybe he thinks she just went ahead and left town. I don't know. Like, how do you not? If you don't know where your sister is, how do you not search for her and try to find her?
And he moved, like, you look at, I guess, season 2 opener. They moved heaven and earth to find Oliver on the island.
Yeah.
So why not move heaven and earth to find Thea?
Yeah.
And she's, again, if family is that important to him, if family is really truly important to him, and you haven't heard from your sister in 5 months.
Yeah. I mean, the other flip side is they gave her a really good motivation though for not wanting anything to do with
Oliver.
With Oliver.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a little like it was not necessarily all true, but the thing was he didn't necessarily fight back against it, like because she wasn't going to listen to him either way.
Well, and it's telling whenever you are presented, any character or anyone is presented with the opportunity to tell the truth or to lie, what they let happen. Like, because you could just let somebody, believe a lie.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. So it's like, it was very telling to his character and his relationship with her that he let her believe it.
Yeah.
Let her believe a lie.
And the thing that sucks about that is I always wanted them to work together, man. Like, that would be so cool. Yeah. I don't necessarily think the team necessarily needs to be bigger. It's a pretty good size, but
it's one down now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for sure. So do you think it's Thea? Like, do we want to make that? Do we want to make that prediction?
I'll make that prediction.
All right.
I'll make the prediction
we're making it here.
It's Thea
right now on Arrow on Target that Sarah was killed by Thea.
Yeah.
Bow and arrow.
The one thing I just want to go ahead and say, Sarah and that character.
Malcolm?
No, Sarah, as in the
Black
Canary. Yeah, Black Canary. One of my favorite characters on the show. Yeah. Like, I sincerely, whenever that happened, I yelled out loud. Mouth was open. I yelled.
So what was funny was I was really shocked. I was watching this with my wife, who has not watched any of season 2, so didn't know who Black Canary was. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I can't believe they just did that. And she's just kind of like, what, why, who is this?
Who is this person?
And so I had to explain then. It was like, and what was funny was she shows up randomly in the end of this episode, and you're like, why are you here? And what have you done?
Well, she was there for some reason too.
Yeah,
she was there for a purpose that she didn't want her father to know about, but that she didn't mind that both Oliver and Laurel.
I don't think she told Oliver why she was there.
No, she didn't. He asked if she was sticking around for a while, and she said, like, maybe.
Well, they implied that she told Laurel because she said, "Please don't tell Dad why I'm here." Or wait,
that I'm here. I thought it was.
Yeah, that I'm here, and she said because you don't want him to know you're here or why you're here or something like that.
Yeah,
and
she said both.
And she said both.
So maybe Laurel knows?
Maybe. Like, and it could go either way. Like, that could just be Laurel assuming some things.
Right.
And it could be that she told her why she was there, and... Which, I mean, she'd probably ask why she was there, so...
Yeah.
I kind of think that she knows what she was doing.
Man, it's interesting to me, like, because Black Canary was such a good character.
Yeah.
Such well-developed from the beginning, and it's like she brought this level of... Every time she showed up, and even this episode, whenever she showed up, it just brought this additional level of awesomeness to the episode. Like, I immediately was like, okay, now it's going to be okay. She's going to talk Oliver down. Everything's going to be okay, you know? But I don't know. It's like, now that she's gone, I don't even know what to think, man.
Well, so this is what I think is going to happen. We actually, like, our review of the last episode of season 2.
Yeah.
We had some comments on that on YouTube. And one of them, if I can actually get it to open the comments.
Nice.
One of them said, reminded us, we were talking about, like, why did they have Laurel trying on the jacket and all that kind of stuff? Okay, well, in the comics, Laurel is the Black Canary.
Right.
So, I honestly think that at some point they needed to get Sarah out of that role so that Laurel could become
the Black
Canary. And using, doing this and using it as a catalyst for, like, the rest of the season and future events, I think that was a good choice, a good way to do it, if not frustrating. It was Eddie Williams commented on our video on YouTube.
Well, thank you, Eddie, because, like, that is a very good point. Because, I mean, you're right. And I don't think we're going to see that happen, maybe not anytime this season, like Laurel take the mantle. Yeah. Maybe second half of the season, maybe. Because we didn't see Roy right away. It's like we kind of knew what maybe he was going to do. We've been suspecting that he was going to be in that role for a while. Yeah. But he really, he basically didn't take it on until this episode. Even though he kind of had it on like last season, it really didn't take full effect until now. I don't know if we'll see her be that yet, but I don't know. Maybe. But I don't know. It sucks because she, again... And Katie Lotz did such a great job of portraying that character and to give that character depth and to give Oliver and the Arrow a compass. Yeah. Give him a true north.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Not really. Well, I mean,
she would always stabilize him, where it was like, hey, at least even if he's not out, if he's out there on his own, she was there.
I think she would stabilize him emotionally in terms of like he can actually deal with what's happening.
That's true.
She wasn't a moral compass.
No, not at all.
She was the one, whenever we went through that phase where he's like, I'm not killing people. She was the one out there advocating for him to kill people.
Right. Well, she's an assassin. That's what she does.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But she wasn't a moral compass in terms of that. I'm glad they didn't bring that issue up this season, and I hope they don't. Because it's just like, who cares?
It's just a non-issue now.
It should be a non-issue. It is a non-issue. Like. The action looks good. You don't have to explain that they're not killing people every single time. Whatever.
Right.
I love the cold open where he said, "You have failed this city."
Oh my!
That was amazing.
Yeah, dude.
I hope he continues that trend.
So good.
We didn't hear it at all in season 2.
I don't know. I mean, maybe once.
He said, "I've failed this city."
Yeah, he did.
So like there was that, and it's just one of the most iconic lines in all of superhero lore now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, all the memes and everything. It's like every week I see a new, like, you have failed this city, or like there was you have failed this, blog post or whatever. Yeah. It's just an iconic thing. Last thing I'll say about this episode probably is the Count Vertigo. I like the idea of the Count Vertigo mantle. Basically, he said there's always going to be a Count Vertigo.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a person pushing this psychotropic drug because people want it, is what he was saying. It's because the city is sick enough to where they want this. They need this role.
Well, what's funny is like they're kind of mutating it to cause different effects.
Right.
So like this is hallucinogenic and honestly kind of it's very
Scarecrow-esque.
Yeah, like, and so you wonder if maybe the Scarecrow comes into it at some point, which would be cool.
That'd be awesome.
They've set this up as kind of like this chemical that is going to kind of like drive a lot of the show, like the Mirakuru, like that kind of stuff. Like it plays a big role, and so I can see how it sticks around, especially in Starling City.
Yeah.
Along the lines of Starling City, they referenced Star
City. Yep.
Which is interesting
That's
because
cool.
that's what it is in the comics. It's Star City.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, if that's just a throwaway or just a nod to, like, hey, or if they will eventually, like, call it Star City.
Rename the city.
They talked about, I think, what was interesting, like, the crime rate's going down and all that kind of stuff, but the population also is going down. I mean, which I don't blame them. I would never go live in Starling City at this point.
Dude, I mean, like, these crazy, souped up guys come in and invade your city. Destroy it.
Well, and then the year
before...
One
year after, the earthquake machines go off and destroy, like, level half the city. It's like, man, the population is probably going down because they're all dying.
Yeah, I'm going to go move to Hoboken, Kansas, and, stay out of the action.
And if anybody puts on a mask, I'm out of there, too.
Oh, yeah. Know? Oh, yeah, for sure. So I don't blame any of those residents.
No, not at all.
Another interesting thing is I didn't really miss Moira at all. Like a lot of the family drama is now gone from the show, and while I always liked Oliver and Thea's friction, I didn't always like Oliver and Moira or Oliver and his stepdad.
That's true.
That kind of friction.
I always liked whenever she was on screen because I loved the actress and because she brought a gravitas to the show that other people didn't. And the same, like I said, whenever like Katie Lotz, whenever Black Canary would show up, it's just this level of like, okay, things are going to get good here, and or things at least the scene is going to be good, or especially with Moira, it was like a lot of times it was like, hey, it's annoying, this drama or whatever. At least her lines were always like just super important, and you knew something was big was going to happen.
Yeah.
So, like, I just hope that they don't lose some of that because they're killing off some of their best characters. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Because we've lost, in, 4 or 5 episodes, we've lost 2 of the main characters. Moira, and Canary. Yeah.
I liked the way that it crossed over with Flash, and that they showed the same scene from 2 different sides.
Same time frame.
Which was cool. Yeah, it's cool. And what's interesting was, like, you see the... Flash came on first, and you see the tail end of their conversation, and then Arrow comes on second, and you see the front part of their conversation, which is kind of weird.
It was cool.
But, it's cool. I liked it, and I like how they did that, and I hope they continue to do that. Like that, I think that's another thing that, like we talked about. Did we talk about this on the main podcast? We did.
Maybe
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't have to have necessarily going for it because not only do they not have like these big name superheroes, they don't have
the big name superheroes crossing over.
Exactly. You don't have the crossovers from the movies, and then you don't have the TV show people crossing over really into the movies anymore. We talk about Captain America all the time. Spoilers for Captain America for a second, but like at the end, there's a helicopter scene, and I think Nick Fury gets out of it at the end.
Yeah.
Who you really want to get out of it at the end is Agent Coulson. And that doesn't happen. Like they miss opportunities like that with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That now exist between Arrow and Flash, which is really cool.
Yeah. You want some quotes?
Yes, quotes. Let's do we rate first?
Oh, do you want a hoods up or hoods down?
Yeah,
hoods up for sure.
Hoods up all the way.
Yeah, like no higher hoods. No. There are no higher hoods than what I'm giving.
As many hoods as possible.
Just pile all the hoods on my head right now.
All the hoods.
Okay, so some quotes. We have the Canary saying, "Don't look surprised. I wasn't gone that long." There was Diggle saying, "Oliver, you'd be dead 10 times over if it wasn't for me."
Which is true.
Which is very true. Very true.
Get it through your thick head, Oliver.
Yeah, come on, man. And then there was...
you asked him to work with you.
Yeah, seriously.
Let him work with you.
Well, he kind of forced him to because he was like... he figured out who he was. I mean, Diggle kind of forced it.
He deserves it, man.
I know, right? Oliver just doesn't know what's good for him.
No.
We have Felicity saying, "I've already seen you shirtless multiple times. Shirtless. All the time."
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was hilarious.
That was an amazing moment.
That was great. Perfect timing.
I love that entire dialogue between them in the restaurant.
Oh my gosh, it's so good, dude. Good.
It was funny and genuine and great.
Heartfelt. So good.
Yes.
The last one, no, I've got 2 more. Sorry, I've got 2 more.
Okay.
We've got Oliver saying, "I'm so sorry. I thought I could be me, the Arrow, but I can't. Not now. Maybe not ever." And Felicity says, Then say never. Stop dangling maybes. It's never going to work between us. Say you're never going to love me.
And then he kissed her.
Yeah, and then he said, I can't tell you that. And he kissed her. And then there was, let me see, the last one is she says, I told you as soon as we talked, it would be over. And it was over. That closes the book on the Felicity Oliver stuff. Yeah, I will end this episode by saying I'm going to miss the canary.
Yep,
a lot.
For sure. Yep.
Gosh.
Yep. Well, I think that's it for this week. We'll be back next week with another review of the next episode. You can find us online at stayintargetpodcast.com and on Twitter at ChrisWright250.
And JohnWright777. Make sure if you guys are interested, check out Flash on Target, where we're going to be talking about that. It's a podcast about that. It might take a minute to get up on iTunes, but if you head to stayontargetpodcast.com, you can check that out there. You can check out our main podcast as well.
Yep. That's it for this week. We'll see you next time on
Arrow on Target. That's awkward.
Yes.
And cue the bumper.